Welcome to Primetime, everybody. I'm your host, Hunter Chambliss. I'm joined by my co-host, Chad and Carrie. How's it going, guys?
Hey, it's going great. Carrie's actually in the middle of baby duty right now, but yeah,
Literally.
doing great. Literally, yeah.
Literally baby duty. All right.
Dude.
So this is the horror '90s bracket part two. So we have a great panel starting off with Austin Howell. How's it going, man?
Yeah, what's up, man? Let's finish up this '90s thing, and see what happens. We got some bangers still in there, so let's see what we got.
Yeah, we do. And of course, Mr. Steve Mesa. How's it going, man?
Doing good, man. I'm telling you, saved the best for last. My 90s horror teas. Got everything going on here. It's a beautiful day. It's a Friday, thank God. And I'm ready to kick things off with some picking some movies in which should face our winner from the last show that we did.
Yes, of course. So if everyone is ready, let's bring up the bracket for part two of the '90s.
All right. Yep. So just to kind of, I'm sorry.
Oh, there it is.
Yep. So just to explain a little bit, sorry if you hear the baby babblings in the background, but that's unavoidable. Yeah, if you haven't really seen one of these before, what we're trying to do is we're trying to actually find like the greatest horror film of all time. I mean, as much as any like 3 to 6 people regulars can. It's all opinion, but what we're doing is we're doing it through brackets. We did the 2020s, 2010s, 2000s, and now we're in the middle of doing the 90s, and this is actually our second shot at doing the 90s. We did a full-on first half of the bracket with 32 movies. The winner of that was, I believe, The Silence of the Lambs. And then, so now we have another 32 horror movies from the 90s that we're going to do. We're going to get a winner today from that set, and then we're going to battle that final movie against The Silence of the Lambs to see which is the best horror movie of the 90s. And then we're going to keep going until, I don't know, we get to like the classics. And then we're going to do a championship bracket where we do, I believe, 64 from the other lists, just to, the 4 from each like half of the bracket, the 8 from each decade that we have said, hey, this is the top 8 from each decade. Do a final 64 to find the greatest horror film of all time. So now, like Hunter said, we're doing the second half of the 90s. Let's get it started. Scroll down to the first matchup today we have is Seven versus Arachnophobia. All right, and we'll start at the top with Hunter.
Okay, so sorry. So as someone who has seen both of these films, Arachnophobia is a very fun movie, but come on, Seven's a classic. It's a really good Fincher film, a really good kind of murder mystery with using the 7 deadly sins. The acting is fantastic, Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, so 7 gets my vote.
Yeah, no, and
Awesome.
yeah, it's Arachnophobia. Yeah, I love a good animal attack movie, a good creature feature. It's a good time. I've only seen it probably 3 or 4 times total, but yeah, I've seen 7 probably 20, 25 times. One of my best experiences ever watching it. For the first time on my neighbor's big screen and his surround sound. Just a great first time experience, and I still love it. So yeah, I'll go with 7 as well.
All right, on to me. I'm in the minority. I think 7's kind of overrated. I used to like it a lot more, and then every watch that I've seen, it's just I'm like, it feels like a episode of like Criminal Minds. It just doesn't really feel like anything special to me. Maybe it's because I've watched so much of that, where it just doesn't feel like it stands out as like a great film. However, maybe I'll watch it one day and I'll go, nope, it's fantastic. But right now, that's my opinion of that. I do like it. I think it's good, but yeah.
What are you voting for?
Arachnophobia. I'm getting to it.
Okay.
Arachnophobia is what I'm voting for because I think this one, is a creature feature, but I think it's a little bit elevated because it actually feels like, did he have any involvement in it? Because it feels like a Spielberg film.
I think Spielberg might have produced it, but it's a Frank Marshall movie.
Yeah, it was Amblin Entertainment.
Yeah, Amblin Entertainment.
Yeah, so I think that's why it just feels kind of like bigger than you think it might be, just a weird spider movie. But I also have a lot of nostalgia for that one. So I'm going to go Arachnophobia here. It might be an underdog.
Okay. I think seven's a little overrated, but I don't think it's that overrated.
Well, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just,
Anyways, I'm going 7 here. I agree a lot with what Hunter said. Arachnophobia is fun, but 7's just such a classic.
Steve.
I mean, what's in the box, guys? What's in the box? Oh, I know what's in the box.
What's in the box?
I vote for 7. So there you go.
All right, so
Nice.
7 moves on. Expected that one. From Dusk Till Dawn against.
Yeah.
Okay, and Austin's big defense here of The Curse of Michael Myers, the 6th Halloween movie.
All right, Austin, we start with you.
Start it off.
So I've just said I have a crazy fascination with Halloween 6 with the multiple cuts with the just the way it's presented. I think it's gotten a bad rap over the years. I think if people actually sit down and watch this movie, does it have logical issues and continuity issues? Of course it does. But I don't care. I love the atmosphere of this movie. I think it's actually shot pretty well. The producer's cut uses the original music quite well. I just think it's really kind of underrated at this point because it's been hated on so much. I love From Dusk Till Dawn, but screw it. I'm the one who advocated for Curse of Michael Myers, so I guess I kind of got to vote for it. So I will. Yeah.
Chad?
All right, perfect. Yeah. I actually kind of agree with Austin. I think Halloween 6 is very interesting because of like all the cuts, the stories behind how it got made. It had so much studio involvement. I think it's a very interesting read. If you I forget the title of the book, but it was like the Taking Shape. I think it was the story of all the Halloween movies. I read through that whole book, and it's fascinating to hear about how that one got made and how the director's cut might be a better version. I still haven't seen it, and how it could have been a much better movie. Had there been no studio involvement. But From Dusk Till Dawn, I've seen like one, I think, all the way through. And I think that one is just a lot of like style over substance. And I just feel like it's just not really my style at all. So even though I think The Curse of Michael Myers is kind of a bad movie, I feel like I enjoy watching it more than I do From Dusk Till Dawn. So I'm going Halloween 6.
Interesting. Okay, well, I have a fun story about From Dusk Till Dawn, and that's we had very few horror movies like in my house growing up, but From Dusk Till Dawn was one of the few that like my uncle had taped on a VHS tape and given to my dad.
Yes.
My dad put it on when I was like 11 or 12. And we watched the whole first half of the movie, all of the RV stuff, until they get to the bar. And then my dad remembers the rest of the movie and it's like, oh, yeah, we can't watch this. There's way for you to watch this.
He said, speaking of that, no.
No, the vampire violence is way worse than just George Clooney and Tarantino going around shooting people in the face and,
I know.
And Tarantino threatening to rape, what's her name? It's, the vampire splatter is way worse than that.
Yeah, and I was in it for the horror and we really didn't. I mean, we got the real life horror part, but not the fun vampire horror part. Anyways, I did wind up seeing it and eventually, and I really love it. I think it is like the first half is, I know Quentin Tarantino is in it and he didn't direct it, but it feels very Quentin Tarantino-esque. And then the second half is just absolutely bonkers. It's so much fun. I think the special effects are great. So I'm going From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yep. Steve. Are you muted, buddy? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really start a show without me being muted. So, I mean, there we go. Boom. Check mark. I'm on Carrie's bandwagon here. From Dusk Till Dawn rocks, man. I mean, I see all the difference from Halloween. And yeah, I'm going to respect your choices of picking Halloween 6. But, they're but it is what it is. But I'll just say that. But, I mean, you got Robert Rodriguez at the helm. You have Clooney, Tarantino, Savini, Fred motherfucking Williamson, Danny Trejo, Selma Hayek in all her freaking glory.
Juliette Lewis.
Yes, Juliette Lewis. I already said Harvey Keitel. Did I say that? Probably.
No, Harvey Keitel is in it.
Keitel, yes. I mean, this is a stack. Cheech Marin in two
Mhm.
roles. Cheech Marin in two roles.
Three
And
roles.
in 3 roles, okay. And Michael Parks, the late Michael Parks,
Mhm.
in the role that he actually reprised in Death Proof, not Death Proof, Grindhouse, Death Proof, and Planet Terror, and Kill Bill Volume 1. So I have to go with the Tarantino, love fest that is From Dusk Till Dawn.
Perfect. Hunter.
All right, so yes, Halloween 6 is okay. I think if you're looking for a Halloween movie that really celebrates Halloween, like this is it, the atmosphere style, you know what I mean? Like the world building, but come on guys, From Dusk Till Dawn is awesome. It's a kick-ass action horror movie with great visual effects by Greg Nicotero, who would go on to do The Walking Dead. Makeup, Danny Trejo, as Steve said, great cast, killer soundtrack, and Robert Rodriguez's killer direction. So From Dusk Till Dawn gets my vote.
I said what I said. But so Don moves on. I'll get one.
I said what I said.
Moving on to Audition, that fucking crazy movie, versus Cape Fear, another fucking crazy movie. All right. 2 crazies back to back. It starts with me here.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched Audition for the first time the other night.
Did you finish it?
I did. But I watched it in kind of the weirdest way. I started it. I watched the first 30 minutes, stopped for a while, and then I picked it back up. But it was the other night, while I was going to sleep.
Yeah, while you were going to sleep, it's not
It's a very weird movie to do that with, because I woke up I stopped when it was kind of not really weird, maybe a little bit, and then I woke up when it was very weird, and then I was like, what the is going on right now? And it creeped me out big time. And that's what I'm going to choose Audition here, actually, over Cape Fear, because I think it's a really, really interestingly crafted film. Mike did this one right. This movie is it's very simple. It's got a very simple story, but I feel like when it starts to get into that weirdness, how it's crafted and unsettling, I think it's just better than anything in Cape Fear, even though I think Robert De Niro gives a fantastic villain performance in that. So it's very close. I almost thought about going Cape Fear, and I wouldn't be upset with either of these passing on, because I think they're both pretty great. But Audition, I think, is just more unique, whereas Cape Fear is kind of just a remake and stuff like that too. So yeah, Audition is weird and crazy, and I kind of loved a lot of the stuff that scared the shit out of me. Carrie, go ahead.
Okay. I respect Audition a lot, but if I am going to choose to watch a movie, it's going to be Cape Fear. I think it's maybe my favorite Scorsese movie.
Whoa.
I really like it. I think
mine too. Go.
De Niro goes all out in this movie. He's so creepy. I don't know. I'm going Cape Fear.
Nice. Steve.
Ish.
I'm going with Cape Fear too, man. Scorsese, dude. Martin freaking Scorsese. This guy is, and he directed around these parts around 1991-ish. He directed around Hollywood. So, I mean, I got to go for a movie that's shot around my neck of the woods here. And not only that, you got De Niro at his best. You have Nolte delivering great stuff. Juliet, this is pretty much the breakthrough role of Juliette Lewis. We were talking about her earlier from Dusk Till Dawn. This was what introduced her to the world before Natural Born Killers. And man, this is also inspired one of the wrestlers that I grew up watching, but saw journeyed along the way. Max Cady was inspired by not only Waylon Mercy from WWF, but after that, he would also inspire Wyndham Rotunda, a.k.a. Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
And the fact that this Wyndham was inspired by this character and took it beyond where it was initially at when it launched, when he was introduced in 2012 as Bray Wyatt. I gotta give points to that, man. So Cape Fear was the origin point of Bray Wyatt / the Fiend.
All right. Yep. Hunter.
All right, so I did not get a chance to watch Cape Fear, sadly. It's definitely on the top of my list, but I probably would still go with Audition because it was Audition that got me into J horror. It's a Japanese horror. It was something that like I got a taste of early on with like The Ring, but that was a remake of the Japanese Ringu. But Audition, man, like Takashi Miike, the way he directs this film is incredible because a lot of one takes, a lot of kind of, you see the horror that's happening. He doesn't cut away a lot. The acting is amazing, so I got to go with Audition.
All right. Yeah. Austin.
It's interesting because I just saw Audition for the first time about 2 years ago, and yeah, it's a movie. It's one of those movies that it's great, and you like never want to watch it again because of where it goes and how crazy it gets, and yeah, how graphic it gets. So I did enjoy it, but yeah, I'm also a big like Scorsese fan, and Cape Fear is kind of awesome. And I think it's one of De Niro's more underrated, overlooked performances. He actually killed it more in the '90s than people think he did, and this is one of them. So yeah, I'll go with Cape Fear as well. I love that movie.
All right, Cape Fear. Moving on. In the next round, we have Ringu. Speaking of J horror, versus Wishmaster.
Nice.
Easy.
All right, Carrie.
Yeah, me too. Easy.
Do you want to say anything about it? All right. I know Carrie liked Wishmaster, but she picked.
I liked Wishmaster.
But she picked Ringu here. So we'll move on to Steve.
I mean, Wishmaster has a whole bunch of horror icons at it. So I mean, I'm going to give credit where credit is due, and it has great makeup to go along with it. But Ringu, man, this is the origin spot of J horror here, man. This is where J horror evolved and became what it was. We were talking about Audition. This is where Ringu came. This is where Audition came from. Ringu.
Absolutely, Hunter.
All right, so as someone who just finished Ringu today, the movie scared the shit out of me. It's tension filled in the best way because the great thing about Ringu is that unlike The Ring, the American remake, there's not a lot of jump scares, but there are scares that like build up with you. So you're following characters down a long hallway and then something will jump out instead of just like a random jump scare, which is amazingly done. Wishmaster is fun and definitely with a lot of horror icons, it definitely has that kind of, prestige added to it. But come on, Ringu is a classic.
All right, yep, Austin.
Yeah, for the most part, I don't like J horror. So Ringu is probably the best of them, but I'm not a big J horror fan. I don't like The Grudge. I don't like The Ring. Ringu is better than The Ring. I'll give it that, but it's still not really my bag. But yeah, I adore Wishmaster. I think it's guilty pleasure, cheesy horror in all the right kind of ways. I like just going around as Andrew Divoff, just going, "What if I told you?" Just being like, "Do you wish not to see me?" Like it's great. Yeah, Andrew Divoff's awesome. All the cameos are great. I'm going Wishmaster.
Yeah, I actually don't disagree with Austin. I think Wishmaster is pretty interesting. I don't want to say it's like good necessarily, but of kind of like the dated 90s horror movies, I think it is one of the more watchable ones for sure. I definitely like seeing a lot of the cameos and stuff like that, especially God, what is Sam Raimi's brother? His name? Ted Raimi dying like in the first like 3 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It seems to happen a lot to Ted Raimi. Candyman's another example of that.
By the way, and the little demon baby running around the beginning is Vern Troyer. Oh man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Credits. Yeah.
I gathered that when I saw the credits. I was like, that must be Vern Troyer.
Yes.
Yeah. I am gonna go Ringu. I'm not that well versed in J horror, but what I've seen I really liked. I like the 90s aesthetic that it has. I think it actually uses that really well. I think both Ringu and The Ring are actually examples of how to do a remake different and kind of good. But yeah, I'm also of the mindset that I think Ringu is superior, like for sure, because I think it's just incredible. And yeah, it was like the beginning of that wave. I think it's very scary. I like what they do, like especially like in the third act with like the well and stuff like that. I just thought that was like a really cool sequence. It's also had a lot more, I think, sadness in Ringu than The Ring had, which I really sometimes really like in horror movies. Ringu.
Funny enough, Ringu feels like the Japanese version of a giallo film because it is all based around the mystery element of some it's not Samara, it's Sudoku.
That's a puzzle game.
Yeah, Sudoku's a puzzle game.
Ringu, I'll look it up because this is important. Okay, it is Sadako.
Yeah, so
Sadako.
like the actual like mystery element gives it like a giallo feel.
Not a bad take there. Japanese giallo. All right. So now Ringu moves on, and we'll move on to the next one, which is, I know Austin's happy. Tremors versus
Bixby!
Blair Witch Project. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Steve, start us off.
Man, this is a very tough choice here.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not gonna be mad if either one of these movies move fast, but I'm picking Blair Witch Project because I lived through the phenomenon that was the Blair Witch Project, and I also in theory I also did my own Blair Witch Project movie. So we took advantage of some backwoods that my aunt was living by, and then we basically just ran around with the camera doing Blair Witch stuff, project stuff, and then this was the origins of found footage movies. At least one of the origins of found footage movies. I know there's movies that happened before that, but this one was where it took it to the mainstream. And yeah, I think I like. Again, I'm not going to be mad at Tremors. Going to move on, but I'm picking Blair Witch Project for nostalgia reasons.
All right, hell yeah, Hunter.
All right, controversial take. I do not like the Blair Witch Project. I think it's super boring. But Tremors is fun. It's a monster movie with Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. Super entertaining, super fun, great jokes. The graboid being this giant like practical effect was amazing, and the way that they got the behind the scenes stuff is very interesting. The movie is fun. I'm going Tremors.
All right, Austin.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy the Blair Witch Project overall. I'm a found footage guy. I can appreciate it. I rewatched it again recently. It played better than it's played for me in a while. But Tremors is my number 2 favorite film of all time, period. And it's probably the movie I've seen more than any other movie in movie history is Tremors. I've just watched this movie over and over and over and over again. I've seen it hundreds of times. I adore it. I think it's kind of perfect for what it's trying to do as just a creature feature. Like it perfectly sets up the characters, the location, the stakes. The characters get intelligent and wise up. The creatures wise up. Like it's really good back and forth. It's a perfect 95 minutes. Tremors rules. So yeah, Tremors.
All right. Very well said. The Blair Witch Project is one that I think we need to, on Welcome to Primetime, at some point do an episode on, rewatch it and just kind of do an episode on it, because I do feel like this is one that, he's got the laser pointer. I feel like this is one that across the generations has kind of like waned. A lot of people just kind of like don't, I think, understand it as much as people once did. I know it like had the viral marketing and stuff like that. And I wasn't actually in that wave, because I was too young to really care about any of that. But after that, Carrie and I actually went to an Airbnb and watched this like in the middle of the woods, and I think kind of like the perfect setting
Well, and also there was noise that we were in a valley, so any noise like echoed, and there must have been like a what was it called where they act out the Civil War or whatever reenactment going on or something, or someone was just shooting guns or something, hunting illegally. But it sounded from inside this little tiny small house we were in. We were in one of those like little houses or whatever, like
tiny house, yeah,
tiny house. And it made it sound like there was like someone rolling trash cans like right outside or something. It was like it scared the crap out of us.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the Blair Witch Project is probably one of the most perfect like found footage movies you could watch. And I think it uses it to like a great. I don't know. I think it's brilliant. I'm still gonna go Tremors here as well. I know all that like preamble, but I think Tremors is fantastic. Like everything Austin said. I have a lot of nostalgia too for Tremors. It's not like my number 2 film of all time or anything, but every time I watch it, I'm like, I love that. I just love everything about it. It's kind of like, I don't know, what if Dune was in in the desert or whatever, in America, and Texans were, trying to run from it. Kevin Bacon's there, it's got a lot of great stuff in it. I think it's scary. It's just a really good creature feature, and I would, on any given day, probably prefer to watch Tremors over Blair Witch, even though I think Blair Witch is brilliant. So I'll go Tremors.
I would have gone Blair Witch, but I'm not mad about Tremors moving on because
I'm not mad about it either. So it definitely deserves to move on.
Absolutely. All right. So that was all you wanted to say?
Okay. Yeah.
Moving Tremors on, and then going to the next one, which is The Witches versus The Sixth Sense. All right, Hunter, back up at the top.
All right, I did not watch The Witches. I actually really like The Sixth Sense. I don't love it. I don't think it's Shyamalan's best film, but I think the way that he uses kind of slower build horror movie, and then he just kind of adds the elements of like almost one location is really used well. So I'm gonna go with The Sixth Sense.
Definitely. Austin.
Yeah, I've only seen The Witches once. I thought it was kind of corny, cheesy. Like it didn't do a lot for me. Angelica Houston's good, but yeah, that movie's it's fine. Sixth Sense, and I've argued for it. I think if Mesa, remember when we did rank 'em 90s horror probably a year and a half ago, whatever it was, we kind of forget how pivotal this movie was to 90s horror and how big of a deal it was. It was nominated for Oscars, it was a big hit. It was one of the bigger sort of mainstream horror movies to ever come out, maybe since Scream, the same decade. So, I think it's gotten to the point where we kind of forget about it. It's almost underrated again because of how good it is. So, I'm going to go with The Sixth Sense. It's still great.
I actually kind of was one of the ones to vote to keep The Witches on the poll or on the bracket because I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I think it's a really great, like creepy Roald Dahl adaptation, and I just really like what they do with the kids, the witches. I just think all of the design of the creatures, the witches themselves, and how they actually do the mice transformation in that I think really holds up. Like I was sitting there like waiting for it to kind of be a little bit more like, it's the 90s. What are you going to do? I was like, shit, this actually kind of holds up with its effects. I think. It's more of kind of like a kid's horror. It's one that I wanted to represent because I think a lot of kids, and that's how I got into it was, being a kid and watching it, I think could, really benefit from that and getting more into horror and stuff like that. But I also agree with Austin. I think the and Hunter, well, maybe not as much Hunter because I think The Sixth Sense is brilliant. I love it. It's one of those horror movies that you go, well, shit, that's a horror movie, but that's also Best Picture worthy, and it got nominated for Best Picture. So. And some people might have argued that it should have won. So, it's one of those with the fantastic performances, Even if you know the twist, it's still great to watch and really creepy and has one of the most iconic lines of all time. So love it. It's Shyamalan's masterpiece. Carrie.
It is, yeah. The Witches is fine. The Sixth Sense is the movie that got me into horror. I
Ooh,
had
interesting.
The Sixth Sense gave me a recurring nightmare for like a year straight. And then I had that nightmare, I think, up until, I would have it sometimes up until like 5 years ago, just like dead people walking around my childhood home and stuff. But yeah, it's the movie that got me into horror. So I'm probably almost never going to vote against it.
So every time like you're in like a tent or something, you think something might be outside of the tent.
And I think it's the reason why that type of horror, like paranormal stuff, is still the horror that scares me the most today.
Absolutely. Steve.
Let's make it a clean sweep. Sixth Sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sixth Sense moves on. All right. And there's still more. We have Event Horizon, you either love it or hate it, versus Species. I'm actually kind of interested to see what I do here because this is an interesting one. Very interesting, actually. I think we're at Austin here.
Yes. No, this is interesting because I actually I just bought the 4Ks of both of these fairly recently. And yeah, I'll advocate for Species. Well, really both these movies, so I don't even know where I'm going to go yet. Maybe I'll talk myself into it. But yeah, Species I think is really kind of underrated. I think it's a really fun, just sort of alien movie. It has a really killer cast, like if you actually look at it, like for what it is. Good stuff. But so does Event Horizon. And Event Horizon still, I think, works. Arguably might be Paul W.S. Anderson's best movie. Lawrence Fishburne is a smart character in a horror movie, which I appreciate. He's a smart captain who makes good decisions. And we just don't see a lot of space horror other than like Alien, in the Alien franchise. And I think this is a really good space horror movie. So, I'll go with Event Horizon. That movie rocks.
Yeah. This is interesting for me on like the complete opposite because I don't particularly like either of these. I just watched Species last night actually, and yeah, I didn't really care for it. Although I think Austin's right. It is cool to see some of those faces, like Alfred Molina. Was really cool. He was probably my favorite part. But Event Horizon, I think, is one that, even though I didn't like it that much, I thought it had some really good scares. Species did too, actually, but not as much. I feel like Event Horizon has more of the cool space atmosphere. Like, I could see why somebody would really like that movie, even though I'm not sure it really works on like a story level that much. But I could see, because I've only seen it once, I could see rewatching it and actually that one growing on me more than Species. So I'll go Event Horizon just a little bit. Carrie.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go Event Horizon, although mostly because I fell asleep while Chad was watching Species, and I only got through like half an hour of it maybe today.
Did you like that half hour?
It was cool. It was like I didn't really get the special effects were really cool, but I like Event Horizon. I think it's like a creepy, like the space atmosphere is really cool. So I'm gonna go with that.
By special effects, do you mean Natasha Henstridge's boobs? They're very well done in that movie.
Steve.
I'm gonna go with Event Horizon just because I'm a big fan of Dead Space, and I played a lot of Dead Space when it came out, and it reminded me of Event Horizon, even though I've seen Event Horizon probably maybe 2 times. So I'm going with Event Horizon.
Perfect. Hunter.
Yeah, I've only seen one of these, and that's Event Horizon. By the way, Steve, another reason why I'm picking Event Horizon is because that is Orange Cassidy's favorite horror movie. So give it a thumbs up for that.
There you go.
All right, so I think that means Event Horizon moves on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and this might be the last one of this side. Maybe not. Vampires, John Carpenter's Vampires. You gotta say John Carpenter's first when you talk about movies versus Scream 2.
Easy pick.
All right, let's see how this one
Not
goes.
fair.
Seriously.
And we're starting with me, correct? This one is no one's surprised what I'm picking here. It's Scream 2. I do want to give some love to John Carpenter's Vampires. I saw it for the first time for this bracket, and I actually thought it was pretty good. My favorite part is Cheryl Lee. I think she is fantastic in that movie. I think she makes it. Without her, that movie I don't think works really that much. It's just kind of like a random vampire movie. I mean, John Carpenter does a good job with the direction and stuff like that. And a lot of the ways, because Cheryl Lee's in it, it feels kind of like a David Lynch movie, because of the way she acts. If you don't know, she's Laura Palmer in Twin Peaks. And she really crushed it for me. So I like that movie quite a bit because of her. That being said, Scream 2, one of my favorite movies of all time, horror movies, whatever. I just love that franchise. It's the franchise that got me into horror. So Scream 2 are the two pretty much big ones that got me into horror, and I just think it really works as a sequel. Big time. I love the Dewey and Gale story, like character work that's done in the movie. It's just a really cool college setting for the movie, and I think the opening is pretty incredible. I think this movie rivals the first one quite a bit, to where I think this is the only one for me. I know Hunter might feel different, that I could see someone saying that could be equal to or better than the first, even though on most days I would not say that. But I love Scream 2, and that's moving on for me. Carrie, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm also gonna go Scream 2. It's just one of my favorite movies. We're a Scream household. We put it on all the time. Vampires had some really cool scenes, some really cool concepts. But I didn't enjoy it quite as much as Scream 2.
For sure. Steve.
I mean, guys, really? I mean, listen. I liked John Carpenter's Vampires back when I actually rented it from my local mom and pop store and watched it on VHS. I actually liked it at the time. And you had Cheryl Lee, and you had Thomas Ian Griffiths, who's also getting a resurgence lately in Cobra Kai. It's reprising Terry Silver. I mean, Terry freaking Silver as a vampire. That's pretty cool. But yeah, no, hands down, Scream 2.
All right, Hunter.
Come on, it's obvious. It's one of the greatest horror sequels of all time, Scream 2. John Carpenter's Vampires is one I just watched for this bracket, like Chad. I actually really enjoyed it. I liked the subvert the expectations of how to kill a vampire in this one. Like the garlic doesn't do anything, the cross doesn't do anything. It's very specific how to kill the vampires.
Gotta drag them outside.
Yeah, drag them outside into the sun.
Yeah.
The practical effects of the vampires look really good. But come on, guys. Scream 2 has everything that the first one had, but more intense, more gore, more like interactions with characters that you already know. Dewey's theme gets introduced for the first time in this film. Really good death scene in Randy, even though I hate seeing Randy die, but he had a really good going out scene. And Timothy Olyphant, amazing. He chews up the scenery, amazing as Mickey. So Scream 2 is my pick.
And Laura Metcalf is the GOAT. Austin.
Oh, she's great.
No, yeah, no. I definitely want to defend Vampires. I think it's an underrated Carpenter movie. I think it's good. It's kind of overlooked at this point. I'll vote for Scream 2, but I'll say this, and don't pull out the pitchforks yet. But if I was to rank my horror franchises, Scream, I might not get to the teens till I got to Scream, to be honest with you. I'm not as big on the actual franchise as a lot of other people are, a lot of other horror fans. It might be because the last 3 Scream movies haven't done much for me, like at all. My fandom of it kind of died after the 3rd one. I think the 4th one's kind of bad. I haven't been as high on these radio silence ones as everybody else. But it is what it is. But I get why people like
Grab
it.
the pitchforks.
You're still good. Go ahead. Go ahead. Send me the hate mail on Facebook. I don't care.
Get the tables.
Bring it. But yeah, it's. I think it was great in the '90s. I like Scream 3. I think it's gone on a little too long, to be honest. I'm kind of ready for this franchise to be over. I think it's. I don't know. Let's wrap it up at some point. You know what I mean? Like
I
we're doing a little too many at this point. Like we're going on Scream 7. Like what are we doing? Like let's
just on that point, sure, you did just defend Halloween 6, but that being said, I kind of agreed with you. I thought maybe it should have. I don't want to be mean here, but should have died with Wes Craven because I just think he was, But I did like Scream 7 quite a bit. However, or Scream 6.
Scream 6, you mean?
However, Scream
you're not like
Time Traveler.
and we'll get to the other side.
Just to me, Halloween at least has the supernatural brand. How many more times we're gonna do Scream? You killed my father's brothers, uncles, cousins, nephews, roommate, so I'm gonna kill all of you. Like it seems like that
Nice
ridiculous
Spaceballs
nature at this point.
reference.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next side of the bracket. It'll be fun when we get to maybe another Scream than this half. The Craft versus Deep Blue Sea. All right. And we're starting with Carrie.
Yeah, I'm going to go with The Craft here. Deep Blue Sea was like a fun watch, but to me, it just doesn't hold up super well. The Craft, I think, is still just like fantastic and spooky, and I love the all the leads in that
movie. Especially when you have Sydney and Billy, right?
Yeah.
All right, Steve.
Man, I have to go with The Craft because God, that cast is sexy as fuck. I mean, this was 96, so I was at the peak of my, you know what I mean? So this,
I don't know what you mean. Spell it out for me, Steve.
I was a young boy. I was going through emotion. I was going through changes, and The Craft kind of woke me up in more ways than one.
Goth phase is the word you're looking for.
You know what I mean? Yes, and I revisited The Craft the other day, and I thought it still hold up. Robert Tooney I think was a great. I don't know. I haven't seen her recent work, but she was a great lead in that movie. But like I said, the whole cast was sexy as fuck, and Skeet Ulrich as well. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with The Craft on this one.
Perfect, Hunter.
Yes, Deep Blue Sea is fun. Sam Jackson gets a great death scene in this movie, but The Craft I watched recently is really good when you look at kind of, this kind of teen horror, but with like mystical elements. It deals with like kind of friendship in a way that's interesting, and the cast is amazing. So I'm going with The Craft.
Definitely, Austin.
I just maybe witch movies just don't do anything for me because The Witch, The Witches of Eastwick, The Craft, like these witch movies just don't do a lot for me. It's just I'm not scared of witches. Like I don't care. Like go curse up a rope. Like fuck you. Like who cares? But like I like Deep Blue Sea a lot. I think it's a great cast. It's a ton of fun. There's a fun backstory you can dig into. I won't get to it here, but there's some great behind the scenes stories about how Deep Blue Sea was originally supposed to be Jaws 5. You can look into it online. But yeah, and it never became that. But Deep Blue Sea was supposed to be Jaws 5. Yeah, 100%. And that got squashed by Spielberg at the end. There's a story behind it. You can dig into it online. But I'll go with Deep Blue Sea.
That actually doesn't surprise me because it felt like a Jaws film. But I actually do like Deep Blue Sea. I saw that right around when it came out. I was young, and so for me, I didn't know it's considered like a bad movie or what. I thought it was just really fun shark movie, and then the effects looked not bad, and they hold up for the most part. Some of them, like the Samuel L. Jackson part, I think you know what I'm talking about, looks very bad. But that being said, I like a lot of the actors in it. I think they're really actually kind of nailing it, and it is a very fun disaster film. And I like to see maybe some of the people who are doing like animal testing getting their comeuppance. That's always fun, right? That being said,
Fair.
you know, I do really like Deep Blue Sea a lot, but I'm also going to go The Craft, just because when I'd always seen clips of the Craft, and then I was like, I don't know if that movie's for me. And then I finally watched it, and I was like, this movie's kind of actually very scary. Like I really like Fairuza Balk is very scary in it. I like the kind of whereas like it wasn't the same year as Scream, and it's like, you know, you have Sydney and Billy, and they're like Billy's like completely different, or tell me what's his name?
Skeet Ulrich.
Skeet Ulrich is completely different in this movie than he is in Scream, and I would probably argue the same for
Nev Campbell.
Nev Campbell and Sydney, because like she's very like heroine. She's like a hero in Scream, and in The Craft she's more kind of submissive, you know, to like Fairuza Balk and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a very, very good like cult film that I thought was very scary and very well done. Carrie, what do you?
You started it.
That's right.
Yeah, she started.
The Craft is moving on. And we'll go to the next one. It is. I mean, I'm used to skipping you because you come right after me. So I'd rather ask you Mimic versus Cube. All right, two interesting films. Who are we starting with? Is this Steve?
Yeah, I didn't see Mimic, so I'm going Cube.
Okay. All right, short but sweet. Hunter.
Haven't seen any of these, but which one sounds more interesting to me? Cube.
All right, Austin.
So it might be a hot take. Mimic might be my second favorite Guillermo del Toro film.
What's the first?
Wow.
Pacific Rim.
Oh.
Yeah, because I'm a kaiju,
Fair.
you know, robots guy.
Excellent.
But yeah, Mimic is awesome, and yeah, especially the director's cut that actually fleshes it out a little bit more. You know, a little bit extended. This movie has balls. They kill kids in this movie. There's some good practical effects. It's another Nicotero joint, I think, around this time. But yeah, there's good creature stuff. I love the atmosphere to it. And yeah, Cube is fun too. There's a really terrible remake going around right now. It's like a Japanese remake of this movie for some reason, but they screwed it up. But yeah, Cube is a fun little small budget, you know, curious film. But I like Mimic a lot, so I'm gonna go Mimic.
Yeah, when I first saw this matchup, I didn't know what I was going to do because I don't particularly like either of these movies that much. And I just watched Mimic for the first time. It was like the last Guillermo del Toro film that I hadn't seen. And I'm kind of the opposite of Austin. I really like Guillermo del Toro a lot, and like a lot of his other films. So Mimic and like Pacific Rim, I think mostly like rank a little bit lower for me. But Mimic, like because Austin was praising the director's cut, I got that on Blu-ray. We did not watch that version. We were lazy and we watched probably the theatrical cut. So I'm interested to revisit it again at some point and see if I like it more. I also don't really like Cube all that much, to be honest, either. Like I thought it was kind of like a interesting concept. Carrie was like, it's Saw, but in a cube. And I was like, actually Saw is Cube without a cube, kind of a deal, because
Cube without a cube.
Yeah. I think Cube is interesting. I don't like know like what they were doing like in the 90s with like how they're portraying like, you know, I don't know, autism or people with like disabilities, or if you even would call that a disability, or, you know, whatever that is. But, you know, it feels a little weird sometimes, but I do like the concept. I think the kills in that one are kind of interesting. Whereas like with Mimic, like I at the very front, I thought, is this going to be kind of like a giallo, like Malignant style, where it's like, you know, it's like a bug creature thing going around killing people in like a suit and stuff. I thought that could have been really cool, but then it to me just kind of devolved into this just big bug mess, and it didn't have like a cool like satire edge to it like Starship Troopers does or anything like that. So I don't know. I didn't really dig Mimic that much. So I'll give Cube the slight edge. Sorry.
Yeah, Mimic I kind of checked out a little bit once they hit the sewers. And it deserves a rewatch, and I think of the director's version in particular. But Cube, I really actually enjoyed it. I thought it was like a great prison metaphor.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, I'm going Cube.
All right.
Hashtag bring back slimy, gooey horror films. There's not enough goo and slime in horror films.
Yeah.
You know, like Mimic. Yeah, I'm like you need to be gooier.
Like
you know?
We could do like a Nickelodeon theme horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, like like Starship Troopers the same year had a lot of goo.
There you go.
Orange goo
Slime
everywhere.
face.
Like we need more goo in horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Steve started that one, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes.
All right. So Cube moves
Yes.
on. We're going to go to the next matchup, which is Tales from the Hood versus the Faculty. I know this one's actually kind of tough. Starting with Hunter at the top. I think I know where he's going with this one.
All right, so Tales from the Hood is really good. I love horror anthologies, but my God, The Faculty is so fun. Robert Rodriguez doing an alien like body snatch movie with a Scream twist. Hell of a cast going with The Faculty.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, this sucks because I'm one of those guys like John Marr who really advocates for Tales from the Hood. Like I think that movie's awesome. Like it's an anthology movie that's starting to kind of pick up steam, and people are discovering it more with the Shout Factory release and all that. I used to have like a bootleg DVD of this from a horror convention because it was just unavailable for a long time. But yeah, like it's a ton of fun. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But The Faculty is one of my 10 favorite horror movies of all time. I love The Faculty. I've watched it so many dozens and dozens of times. As you guys know, I'm a big Body Snatchers fan, and I feel like it's very much like a post-Scream kind of Body Snatchers because it's written by Kevin Williamson, so it has that bend to it.
Mhm.
It has that kind of meta quality. They bring up the Body Snatchers story within the movie. They're very aware of they figure it out pretty quickly. And yeah, the cast is like ridiculous. Of people you recognize, and so
Robert Patrick as the coach, insane.
Come on, there's so many people in this movie. It's ridiculous. Like you can name off. Yeah, it's like this cast is like Oppenheimer back in '98. It's crazy.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'll go with The Faculty. Love it.
Yeah, this is interesting because I do agree. I think both of these are actually underrated, like really good horror movies, and I like both a lot. I was surprised with The Faculty because I had like heard that it might be bad, and I thought it was actually really interesting. And I had a lot of fun with it. I am a Kevin Williamson fan. I love Scream. So, seeing that like H2O and a lot of the other ones that are just like his style, you always know when it's kind of a Kevin Williamson, even if it's just a treatment, it's something from him. And I think this is a very good one of that. I'm going to go Tales from the Hood here, though. And the reason I'm doing that is not just to be on the defense of it. I actually just think it might kind of be just a very important film because it's like very few horror movies that like are kind of like created by African Americans, and like it feels like a movie kind of like Get Out, and I feel like this is a very it feels like Jordan Peele watched Tales from the Hood and was like, I can do that, and then it made an even better horror movie. Tales from the Hood feels like where you'd have someone writing a movie and the horror comes from what they're afraid of. It feels like this is like every little segment is something that someone from that community would be like, that's the scariest thing I could think of, is like something to do with the police or, stuff like that. I think it's very progressive in that way. And I'm not like a huge like anthology person all that much, but I sometimes really do like them when I see them. And I just really like this one. I like the creepy guy, the funeral director guy. I thought he was really great. And I want to kind of see a remake of Tales from the Hood where Jordan Peele plays that guy, because I think that would be really fun. So yeah, I really, really liked Tales from the Hood. But yeah, the fact it's so close, but I'm giving the edge to Tales from the Hood because I think it's kind of important. Carrie.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you. I just looked up, what I rated these films on Letterboxd, and I rated Tales from the Hood a little bit higher, and I do think it's important, and it was really good. Like, I enjoyed all of the segments. I really like anthologies. The Faculty is amazing, though. I wish these two weren't up against each other.
For sure. And that puppet sequence, I think,
Yeah.
really holds up. Steve.
Tales from the Hood. Move on.
All right. Wow. I didn't expect that, actually. I know The Faculty is pretty loved.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not exactly mad about it, but yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever you do, guys, don't watch Tales from the Hood
Yeah,
2 and
same.
3. They're not
All right.
they're
Cool.
not good. No.
All right. Moving on. We have The Exorcist 3. William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist 3 versus Death Becomes Her. It's a little bit of a late addition that I wanted to add on there. And I think I know how this might go, but starting with who? Austin,
Me.
right?
Yeah, no, The Exorcist
Austin.
3 is
Yeah.
still kind of hella underrated. Although I think a lot of horror fans are coming around to it and realizing it's one of the better Exorcist movies because it's just a really good kind of police procedural with George C. Scott, investigating this weird stuff. Got some of the great jump scares ever in horror movies. Really good stuff. I haven't seen Death Becomes Her. It's one of my blind spots, so it just is what it is. But I really do like The Exorcist 3, so I'll go with that.
Yeah, so funny kind of thing. I adore the original The Exorcist. And then I think that's kind of like a perfect horror movie. It's just so great. And then we watched Exorcist 2, The Heretic, and I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
That shit crazy, right?
It is, but I didn't really enjoy it. I was like, this is not very
Sequels of
good.
all time.
Yeah, so watching The Exorcist 3 after that, Exorcist 3 just easily feels like a masterpiece after that, to be honest. Although I do think it pales in comparison to the first The Exorcist, obviously, because it is what it is. But yeah, William Peter Blatty taking over for William Friedkin, you'd feel like maybe that would kind of be weird. Like, does that dude even direct movies? Kind of a deal. Like, he's the author of the book. But I think it worked out very well. I think he did a great job. He brought a great atmosphere to it. I liked seeing Brad Dourif in there. He said Child's Play in the movie, and I was like, there you go. He said it. He said Child's Play.
He said the thing. He said the thing.
He said the thing.
With the Leo
exactly.
DiCaprio meme like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also thought that the story, like Austin was saying, is like a police pursuit. They're searching for a serial killer, and I like how they blends the the demon exorcist possession stuff with that, and the imagery at the end was pretty incredible. I'm gonna go Death Becomes Her because I feel like it's not gonna be the one that moves on, and I want to defend it a little bit just because I think it's a very, very fun movie. I know it blends the line of is it a horror movie, but I do think it is. It deals a lot with death and stuff like that, but it is very fantastical. I like all the performances in it. Especially, I think Bruce Willis is incredible as the very crazy kind of character that he is, which is very different from his John McClane and stuff like that. Yeah, all the performances Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep, and I don't know, it's just really, really, really fun, fantastical horror movie about death and stuff like that. I just thought it was really, really cool. So yeah, I mean, I'm going that route where I think The Exorcist 3 is mega underrated, but I think Death Becomes Her is the one that I prefer to watch because I think it's fun as hell. Carrie.
Okay, well, I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go Exorcist 3 because I think it's scarier, and I also just like it better.
Steve.
I'm going with Death Becomes Her because it has Isabella Rossellini. So.
Oh, yes, it does.
Oh, she was amazing. She was the best.
Wow. Oh, my God.
I have not seen any of these films, but the one I would want to watch more is Exorcist 3. So Exorcist 3 is my vote.
Just moves on.
Moves on, yeah.
Damn it to heck.
I'll announce it. Okay, Misery versus Night of the Living Dead remake.
Oh, my God.
All right, Chad's up first.
Chad's first.
Yeah.
Misery versus Night of the Living Dead remake.
Yeah.
I'll explain as I'm trying to get to my chair here.
Oh my God.
This is interesting because Carrie and I watched Night of the Living Dead remake very recently. We're on a very big George Romero kick right now. And I'm growing a lot more appreciation from a lot of his movies. And I was excited to see this remake because I know like he had like involvement in it. It was directed by Savini, right?
Tom Savini,
Yeah, Tom
Tom
Savini,
Savini, right?
who did the effects and was in the original Dawn of the Dead and stuff like that. So, just a lot of great attachment to it. So I'm like, if you can make a remake like with like the original creator and the people that know how to do the effects, I thought it was a really good like remake. It doesn't hold a candle for me to the original, but I do think it's a very solid. I love how you can look at the original Night of the Living Dead in its time, and then you can look at Night of the Living Dead remake in its time, and it's kind of like this is the one for the 60s and this is the one for the 90s, and they changed it to update to like the kind of like modern, in that time, modern themes where Barbara has more of a kind of action hero role where she's like a go-getter. She's actually firing the guns and stuff like that. So yeah, it did a lot of really great stuff. I think Misery is a masterpiece, though. I love it. I think it's a fantastic movie. I think Kathy Bates gives one of the all-time performances. I love the change. I love the book and I love the movie, and I think the changes they do in the movie I think are really, really cool. Even though, because like in the book she cuts off the foot, in the movie she like hobbles them, which I think is kind of almost creepier than cutting it off. Almost,
It's worse.
Yeah, it feels kind of worse a little bit. Maybe not. I don't know. You could debate that. But Misery's a fantastic movie. I think it's a masterpiece, literally. So that would be on my like all time. I think at least top 20, if not top 10 horror movies of all time. So yeah, I'd go Misery, but I really like that remake. So, Eric.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go Misery. I think it's absolutely amazing. It's just in a bit of another class, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Steve.
Night of the Living Dead. Move on.
All right. Hunter.
Definitely Misery for me. I absolutely love this movie. Kathy Bates gives an Oscar-worthy performance. James Caan is incredible. I love the movies that take place in one location. It's scarier. You're isolated, nowhere to go. It's escape for survival. Misery.
Perfect. Austin.
Yeah, I dig Misery. Although I do like that Night of the Living Dead remake. I think it's pretty solid. But yeah, doing it for James Caan. Misery. Rest in peace, man.
Oh yeah, rest in peace. Great actor. All right, moving Misery on. And so we'll move on to the next one, which is Jacob's Ladder. That was a JPO favorite, if you watch that bracket, versus Urban Legend, which is the spoiler Hunter favorite. So we're starting with Mary, but she's busy. We'll skip her and we'll go to her last. Steve, start us off.
Jacob's Ladder is a movie I got caught up recently. I enjoyed it. Tim Robbins delivers probably the best performance of his lifetime since before Mystic River came up, and it was creepy as fuck. So that really gave me nightmares. So Urban Legend, it's like basically Scream Light. It's coming off the hinges of Scream 1 and Scream 2. It's a decent movie, but I'm going to have to go with Jacob's Ladder on this one.
Perfect. Hunter, tell us why you like Scream Light.
Urban Legend is fantastic. What a hell of a cast, man. I love the concept of taking these popular urban legends and giving it a horror twist. Rebecca Gayheart is insanely good. Michael Rosenbaum, Joshua Jackson, Jared Leto, hell of a stellar cast. And yeah, I've never seen Jacob's Ladder, so Urban Legend is definitely 100% my pick.
Awesome. Austin.
Screw Urban Legend. That movie screwed me over in so many trivia things. Like I hate that movie. I hate that
A Legend's Legend.
Jesus Christ. I hate that movie. I hate that franchise. It shouldn't be a franchise. That movie's terrible. It is Scream Light, Scream knockoff. Shouldn't exist. Jacob Ladder is great. I just came to it for the first time a few years ago. It's creepy as hell, man, when you're seeing all the weird blank faced people all over the place or in the back of the windows. All the weird people that are like roaming around in the subways, and all that stuff is creepy as hell. And Steve, it doesn't hurt that Elizabeth Pena is naked for most of the movie. So That doesn't hurt. That doesn't
No.
hurt. I'm just saying. Again, I'm just
No,
saying. It's
no,
not the
it
reason I'm
doesn't
voting
hurt.
for it, but it
It
doesn't
doesn't
hurt. I'm just
Also,
saying.
doesn't hurt that actually, it doesn't hurt. Nope, not at all.
Nope, not at all.
Perfect. Perfect movie.
All right. Moving on to me. Also, sorry, Hunter. I'll also go Jacob's Ladder. I do think I understand why Hunter likes it. I think it is. I mean, it's kind of like in that way, like the Wishmaster kind of thing, where it's like a callback to other horror movie or Scream, just a callback to other horror movies and just legends and just creepy things, and that way it's almost kind of like a anthology movie in itself. And I think that it has a lot going for it, especially being a Kevin Williamson joint. But I think Jacob's Ladder is a really great like psychological horror movie. It's definitely like not what you normally expect in a horror movie, and I like the you don't know what the fuck is going on kind of a deal. There's a lot of movies like that I don't actually really like all that much, like the 1408s and stuff like that. But like this one, I think is done to a very high degree, and I just really like Tim Robbins quite a bit myself as well. So yeah, I think the direction is really good in that, and the mystery is really cool. So I'll go Jacob's Ladder. Carrie.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go Jacob's Ladder here. Urban Legend. Yeah, Urban Legend's really fun, but Jacob's Ladder I think is just like close to being a masterpiece.
No, wow, high praise.
I'm
Nice.
to watch it.
Yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, check that out, Hunter. You might like it. All right, moving on. We have Kronos, another Del Toro joint, versus Leprechaun.
Why is that even there? Why?
What, Leprechaun?
Leprechaun.
I know.
Okay. All right. Well, we know how you feel. Well, Carrie, you start us off this time.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I am gonna go Kronos here. Leprechaun is a movie.
Yep, it is. Sure is.
Jennifer Aniston is in it. Kronos, though, I think the concept in Kronos is really cool. The older gentleman who plays the main character, I think he's just fantastic throughout the movie. And it's a really creepy and cool story.
Yep, definitely. Steve.
Kronos. Moving on.
That's the theme song. I forgot about that actually. Hunter.
I've never seen Kronos, so I'm going with Leprechaun.
All right. Awesome.
I have seen Kronos, which is why I'm voting for Leprechaun. Kronos bored the shit out of me when I watched it. I was so bored. So bored. Again, I'm not a big Del Toro guy. This movie did nothing for me. It just, I can watch Leprechaun. I think it's a lot of fun. And don't you disrespect Warwick Davis. Come on, giving little people leading roles. How dare all of you vote against Warwick Davis and Leprechaun? Yeah, I'm going with that.
All right. So Leprechaun, I have a lot of nostalgia for actually. So that's why I was very excited to see it. And I'm very sad to see that Carrie hated it, apparently.
I think I do need to give it another chance because, again, I do think I fell asleep like halfway through this movie and like woke up to some parts.
I will say it is a very silly movie. You have to watch it on a certain level where you're like, all right, I'm ready for this to be weird, silly, campy. Like it's not like scary because like you see the villain like the entire time, and I mean he's creepy. His makeup's creepy. But I mean like they can just foil him by like making him shine their shoes and doing shit like that. So and like what was like something like trying to like how to foil him is to find a 4-leaf clover.
Yeah, they slingshot it in his throat. That's
awesome.
Right.
That's right. It is pretty awesome.
Yep.
Come on, that's awesome. Was that not awesome?
He also counted the gold, and we'll get there. We'll do a deep dive at some point.
What's moving on?
Moving on. Well, moving on is obviously Kronos. Because everybody voted for. I'm also voting for Kronos because I do really like Del Toro. I like his style, and I like how this is kind of like an unconventional vampire movie. Where like the vampire's like this bug in the little device, and you put it on someone. I just love the the makeup effects that he uses, like the old man like slowly turning into the vampire, just so creepy.
We watched this around the same time as another surprise vampire horror thing, and
it's the original Blue Beetle. It's the original Blue Beetle.
Yeah, makes sense. Kronos is moving on. All right, Kronos. The next matchup.
Oh, sorry, did I spoil it?
Scream versus kind of a similar poster.
Son of a bitch.
Brain Dead or Dead Alive, the Peter Jackson joint.
Damn you!
That's the last of this side. All right, and we're starting with Hunter at the top.
Oh, easy. The movie that got me into horror films, Scream, 100%.
All right, Austin.
I'll go Scream, but I do enjoy Dead Alive. But I remember that there was a story about the first time I ever saw it. I literally went and threw up. It was so gross.
That's effective.
Yeah, no, but I mean, granted, I was like 11 years old, and I probably so but yeah, it's a lot of fun. That movie has also cost me a trivia match though, so screw it. Scream.
I totally get that where Austin's coming from. It's a kind of a weird one to see when you're 11 because I just feel like it is so over the top with the gore and honestly, it's so freaking well done. Like I'm like, Peter Jackson, why'd you go make those Lord of the Rings movies? Why you
dropping
horror, bro? Like you have talent for horror.
Go make another damn horror movie because
Right.
is great, Dead Alive is great. Go make some more horror, damn it.
Yeah, stop trying to make the Hobbits or why'd you make more horror?
Don't make the Lovely Bones. Go make fucking.
He was the Salt Bay of horror back in the 90s. He was the Salt Bay of horror back in the 90s. Like,
I also kind of felt like I didn't really care about any story with it, but I don't think that was what the point of the movie was. I just thought it was a very great showcase for what they could do with gore and editing and all that type of stuff. And it kind of felt, in a way, like the Evil Dead of the 90s because I kind of like it more than Army of Darkness a little bit, to be honest. It has more of that balls to the wall Evil Dead 2 style feel to it, but I'm obviously going Scream here. It is one of my favorite, if not my favorite horror film. It is one that got me into horror and I absolutely adore it. And I know why Carrie was upset because I know she loves both of these actually now. So Carrie, go ahead.
Yeah, we watched a bunch of movies for this that we hadn't seen before, one of them being Dead Alive, and it was by far my favorite that we watched. I love it. I thought it was just like the best mix of gore and some silliness in there. I'm gonna still go Scream. But it just breaks my heart that these two movies are paired against each other. I wish I could. I know. Well, where am I going to buy a Brain Dead shirt? I haven't seen one for sale yet.
This breaks
you gotta go to horror conventions with the sellers that sell goofy shirts and shit.
The stuff where you don't need the license because you're not putting it online.
Or you can wait for a rocking Fulton drop to happen soon around the anniversary or something. I don't know. Yeah, man, this is a tough choice. I love Dead Alive. I love Scream. They both are on equal footings for me. Me being the gore hound that I am, I love the artistry that went behind the gore. But I'm wearing a Scream shirt. I mean, Scream is seminal horror. It's the best horror film of the 90s. Period. I don't see it beating anybody else. So Scream, baby, let's go.
All right. Yep. So now we got to the end of this, as I thought might happen. Scream moves on here. Check out Brain Dead, though. It's on YouTube, actually, if you want to check it out. It's very, very good. There's check for a high quality stream of it because it's out there and it was really, really great. I want to own it on Blu-ray, though. So we'll go to the other side and we'll continue this. This will be a little bit quicker because we've talked about all these already. But you can elaborate if you want. So now we have 7 versus From Dusk Till Dawn. We'll start with Austin.
7.
I'll also go 7 here. Carrie.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Steve.
7.
Hunter.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Wow, interesting. All right, 7 moves on though. And then the next one is Cape Fear versus Ringu. And I'll go. I swear I love Cape Fear, but I'll go Ringu here. Carrie,
Cape Fear.
Steve,
Cape Fear.
just keep going. I don't need to say everybody's name.
Ringo.
Cape Fear.
Cape Fear moves on. All right, and moving on to the next one. Tremors versus The Sixth Sense. Steve.
Carrie, right? It's Carrie.
Sixth
I think,
Sense.
actually.
It's Carrie.
Doesn't matter. Carrie, what do you?
The Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense.
Hunter?
Tremors.
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 The Sixth Sense.
Oh, god damn it. All right. Well, it's been a good night, everybody. Have fun.
Night,
With the
everybody.
rest of the bracket. See you later.
I know. I thought about it, but yeah. Hunter.
Scream 2.
Event Horizon.
Scream 2.
Scream 2.
All right, moving on. Oh,
See where this is going.
All right, The Craft versus.
Gee, I wonder what the championship matchup is going to be for all you boring people again on these streams. Good at Tremors.
You might be surprised, buddy.
The Craft.
Yeah.
I've been surprised on these
Craft.
brackets before. Oh, I'm acting like it's moving on already.
Yeah.
Austin.
Cube.
The Craft.
Q.
Craft.
Wow.
I don't have
Interesting.
like that much love for the
Yeah, but
craft.
Cube was kind of fucking stupid. Though.
I
All right.
liked Q.
All right, interesting. All right. Tales from the Hood versus The Exorcist 3. Austin, I think.
Tales from the Hood.
Also go Tales from the Hood.
I'm also gonna go Tales from the Hood.
Tales from the Hood.
Hunter.
Tales from the Hood.
Okay.
Interesting. All right.
Tales from the Hood.
I heard you. Misery versus Jacob's Ladder. I'll go Misery.
Misery.
Jacob's Ladder.
Hunter.
Misery.
Jacob's Ladder.
Interesting. All
I
right.
tried.
Misery.
Misery moves on. I think there's a delay with Hunter. Kronos versus Scream. Scream. Carrie, start.
Scream.
Scram.
Hunter.
Uh-oh. He would have voted for Scream.
Yeah.
Scream. Yeah.
And I'd say Scream too.
Yeah.
Scream as well, I mean.
Is Hunter out of the stream?
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh.
He might be having internet issues again. So.
Yeah.
Well, there he is, maybe. No,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Not quite.
Playing the role of John Cena. Hunter Chambliss.
I'll move. Dun, 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 dun. I'll move it over to here. And we oh shoot, I gotta can you plug
Sorry.
something in?
Then. I think that.
Yep. Scream, by the way. Oh, obviously.
Yeah. There you go.
We figured.
Are you playing a Ouija
Fair
board?
enough.
What the hell is going on? I can't hear you guys. You muted yourself.
Sorry
Yeah,
guys.
I hear you.
I had to plug in my computer again. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll zoom out a little bit. And we'll go on to 7 versus Cape Fear. Steve.
7.
7.
Hunter.
7.
7.
7.
Cape Fear.
7 moves on. The Sixth Sense versus Scream 2. Hunter.
Scream 2.
Spite vote
Scream
for y'all
2.
voting on Tremors. 6 cents.
This is very close. Scream 2.
The Sixth Sense.
6 cents.
All right, Sixth Sense moves on. Which actually,
Wow.
I actually like that for like the top 4 kind of a deal. All right,
See,
moving
guys?
on.
Figured y'all would be so cliche.
The Craft versus Tales from the Hood.
Awesome.
Me. Tales from the Hood.
Austin.
I said Tales from the Hood.
I'll go The Craft actually here. I think it's a little scarier.
Tales from the Hood.
Okay.
Tales from the Hood.
All right.
Fuck.
Hunter.
Hunter.
Tales from the Hood.
Oh, I'm
Tales
actually
from the
happy
Hood.
that I moved on. I do think that's a very good movie. All right. Misery versus Scream. I'm obviously going Scream.
Just move it. Just move it.
Hey, hey, hey.
I'm
hey,
just kidding.
hey,
I'm
hey,
kidding.
hey, hey, hey.
Are you? Are you? What are you?
Me? Scream.
Scream.
Hunter.
Scream.
Austin.
Misery.
Scream.
All right. Scream moves on.
Yeah.
All right. The top 4 of this one is Seven, The Sixth Sense, Tales from the Hood, and Scream. All right. So we'll start over here. Seven versus The Sixth Sense. I think we're starting with Carrie.
The Sixth Sense.
Okay. 7.
7.
Okay.
7.
7.
The Sixth Sense. 6 versus 7, and 7 moves on. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
8, 9, 10.
Now we have Tales from the Hood versus Scream. Starting with Steve.
Scream.
Hunter.
Scream.
Oh, sorry.
Tales from the Hood.
Scream.
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 All right. I did not know if this would be the last matchup, but it is. It is 7 versus Scream, and we're starting off at the top with Hunter.
Scream.
7.
Scream.
Scream.
If this was The Sixth Sense, I would have gone The Sixth Sense, but it's not. So I'm going Scream.
Scream.
Scream. What do you know? Did anyone predict this?
Y'all are so boring, just like
Scream.
Shaun of the Dead winning the
Shocking
other
outcome.
one. Y'all are so
but
boring.
we have to vote
We
Scream
do.
versus
Versus
The Silence of the Lambs, which
But
won our part
I
one.
wanted to announce Scream won the second half of our 90s bracket. So now, like Carrie said, we have to decide between. It's a very hard decision, I know, Elliot. I'm sorry. All right.
Yeah.
Now we have to decide between The Silence of the Lambs versus Scream. Starting with Austin.
Silence of the Lambs.
This is actually very close. I'm going to go with my heart. I'm going to go Scream here, though.
I vote The Silence of the Lambs.
Interesting. All right.
Ooh.
Yeah. Carrie voted Silence of the Lambs if you didn't hear her.
All right. Oh. No, why? Why? Okay. I'm sorry. I love you. Silence of the Lambs.
Wow.
Sorry.
All right, Hunter, we're on an island, or unless you're going Silence of the Lambs too.
Scream.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Scream,
that
100%.
actually really saddens me. But if anything could take down Scream, the Silence of the Lambs is a very, very worthy. Of course, it won like everything known to man at the Academy. So, Silence of the Lambs, damn fine horror movie. Love it to pieces. So that won the 90s. The Silence of the Lambs, but in the early 90s. And it didn't get much better than that. Well, no, I mean, it was pretty great, a decade for horror, I'd say. But the Silence of the Lambs crushed it. So now we look forward to diving into Before I Was Born. Actually, I think Austin might be the only one who was alive in the 80s.
Yeah, I was born in 86.
Steve was apparently kind of also alive in
86.
the 80s.
85, baby.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Okay. Interesting. I didn't know you were 85. So we're dipping into the 80s, and I'm excited for it. We will start making that bracket soon. Actually, I already kind of have most of the movies that I thought might be picked out, but we'll figure it out, and we'll see you next time for the 80s bracket. Hunter, close it out.
All right, guys. If you did enjoy this, please hit that like button, subscribe to Nerd Entertainment Network down below. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys soon. Peace.